Hey, this is Jonesy from Jonesy TV coming at you with Arrow Season 4, Episode 11. I'm giving you a review for the episode Unchained. This episode saw the return of Roy Harper, the return of Shadow in the flashbacks, and the return of the Calculator. And this episode was pretty great. Roy, one of my problems with season 3 was that Roy was handled wrong. He sort of just shuffled out at the end. But this episode really brought him back in the fold for one last episode. Or he may be in another episode later on, but at least one last episode this season. And he really did a standout job. And it was great how they had the intro where he was the criminal and they were trying to track him down. Because, having Roy be a criminal, it's like, what? But they realized, of course, he had the implant, and he had, which is what you assume, and that he's being coerced into it. And I think it was great. And I think that him coming back in gave him some sort of closure that he didn't have earlier. It sort of fixed another mistake. Season 4 is great about that. It fixes a ton of mistakes that season 3 had just by, little things. And bringing Roy back in was a great idea for the Arrow writers. I will say that. This episode worked together really well. They were trying to figure out, who is controlling Roy and how do we stop him? And they figure out it's the Calculator. And the Calculator ends up being Felicity's dad, which doesn't surprise anybody, but it was still a cool revelation. And I found that to be awesome. Not only that, though, I believe the fight scenes were superb in this episode. Oliver's scenes with Roy were spot on. They were great. It was great to see them both back in action together, and they were awesome. Not only that, I will say that Nyssa, who I honestly think she's one of the weakest links of the whole entire Arrow chain, she was great this week when she had the fight with Katana. I thought that was sweet. And it's weird because I didn't like Katana in season 3 of Arrow, honestly. I thought her character was used in the wrong way, but in this episode, she really seemed to have a purpose. She was guarding that place, and Nyssa got that certain thing, the one thing Oliver needs to cure Thea. And so, this episode, brought old characters back in the fold, and it was great. The next character, I would say, Shadow coming back into the fold and hallucinations that Oliver was having was a good idea because Oliver really was down in the dumps and the flashbacks. Like he got captured by Ritter, his plan got figured out, and he's in a jail cell, and so he sort of needed encouragement from somebody. And considering that the other lady in the flashbacks wasn't going to give it to her, she's one of the reasons I do not like the flashbacks. And I will say that openly, she was absolutely terrible in the flashbacks this year. Miscast, bad actor, she didn't bring anything to it. But despite that, Oliver, whenever he talks to Shadow and he gets his encouragement back, he's able to encourage her again, and that was great. I really did like Shadow in season 2. She was a great character, and it was nice to see her back as well. So you see all these familiar faces that you used to see. It's really refreshing, and this whole entire episode is really refreshing. It's fast-paced, it's sleek, the fight scenes are awesome, the flashbacks are good, the the character drama's good as well, and I really think it was one of the greater episodes of this season. I would actually give it, in my review, I'm going to give it a 9.0, a 9 out of 10. This episode was great. It's one of the most well streamlined and not inconsistently good or bad episodes of Arrow to date, as far as the later seasons, and so it reminded me a lot of season 2. So I will give this episode a 9.0 out of 10. Arrow Unchained, simply a good episode. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope you like and subscribe to my channel for more reviews and content. And you should definitely, if you're going to skip around Arrow, I don't know, some people like to avoid episodes. This is one of the episodes you should catch. So this is Jonesy from Jonesy TV, signing off.